Hi, I'm Dani Johnson, and I've got a question for you. Do you really always have to go big or go home? Is going big or go home always the right thing to do? Is it always the best thing to do? Is it always the wise thing to do? That's the question I have for you today. I was recently in a conversation with a family member. And in this conversation, I started to think about this process that's been kind of rolling around in the background, the back framing, whatever, computing that happens in my brain. Sometimes it might happen in yours too. Where is it always best to grow something big? Is it always best to be the best? Do you always have to? In every way and in everything, do you always have to do something like that? What do I mean? I hope I'm not losing you right now. Here's the deal. You see, there are some people, let's use artists as a prime example, right? There are some people that they've got an art, whether it's playing the guitar or it's painting pictures or it's drawing pictures or it could be writing books. What I've noticed from some very, very successful people that I've had the chance to work with through the years is that those who are really wise, and I'm not saying people that go for the best all the time and go for the biggest are not wise. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I've had the opportunity to work with some very successful millionaires who are very, very influential. And many of them didn't try to be the best. Being the best or going big or going home was not part of their equation for their success. They had an incredible way of knowing what was important to them. And that's something that we've tried to adapt in our lives as well, my husband Hans and I, where we've tried to adapt that same thing. That, for example, it was by the influence of a very successful man who his intention was never to shatter industry records. His intention was never to grow the biggest company in the nutritional industry or in the environmental industry, whatever industry. I mean, he's owned lots and lots of companies throughout his 40-year career as an entrepreneur. His goal was never to break the records, when he was a salesperson either. But it was to do his best. And in doing his best, he ends up with a portion in relation to his labor. And so in this recent conversation with a family member of mine who is incredibly gifted and incredibly talented, I noticed the very same thing, this piece of wisdom that was operating inside of this particular individual, that, hey, I enjoy playing music. I enjoy writing music. I enjoy creating albums, or I enjoy photography, or I enjoy drawing, or I enjoy writing, right? Whatever that enjoyment is, don't allow, and I want you to look at yourself too, that whatever it is that you enjoy, that you find fulfillment with, doesn't mean that you have to now change it into, oh my gosh, I have this gift, now I have to go big or I gotta go home. I have to shoot for, selling 1 million records, or I'm just not even gonna do it. No, that's ridiculous, friend. Listen, take what it is that you enjoy and do it at the pace in which you enjoy it. There's so much noise in our world today that's always kind of pushing us to more, which then produces a crazy dissatisfaction inside of us. Have you ever noticed that? Have you ever noticed that you've worked towards something that you enjoy, and this whole culture that we live in, the culture of more, the culture of dissatisfaction, the culture of if I'm not bigger than Amazon, then I'm a nobody. So I've got to be bigger than Amazon. Or if you're a musician, well, I've got to be bigger than Lady Gaga or I'm a nobody. Or if you're in the acting profession, well, I've got to be bigger than Matthew McConaughey or bigger than a Julia Roberts or bigger than a whatever, put in the name, bigger than Thor, then I'm a nobody. That is complete nonsense. Listen, if you've got a gift or if you don't allow our culture that is forever dissatisfied, always hungry for more, inhaling its food without even tasting it, inhaling its accomplishment without even feeling the accomplishment, but instead looking on to the next thing. So just because you have a gift or just because you have a business doesn't mean you got to go big or go home. Do it in a way that is fulfilling to you. Do it in a way that is satisfying for you. Do it in a way where you're enjoying the journey of it versus being driven by a culture that says more, 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 more. So this is really simple and it's really clean. I made choices in my career early on that raising my family was much more important to me than being on a different stage every single weekend. I've been speaking for 31 years. Cannot believe I've been speaking for 31 years. It's like, that's just crazy to me that anyone my age could do something for 30. Well, I'm old enough to have been working. Forget it. I'm just going to stop before I dig myself a deeper hole. But the bottom line is this. When I started out, I was young. And when I started having a family, when Hans and I, settled down, let's say, and we started to have a family, when I became a mom, it was so important to me to raise my own child. And even though I had lots of opportunity to be on a stage every single weekend, even though I had lots of opportunity to, in fact, later years where I had lots of opportunity, still have that opportunity today, to be on television all over the place and do a bunch of different media stuff and to write books, even to write more books. And do you understand what I'm saying? Like, have had opportunities to, I was asked by Dr. Drew's executive producer if I would be somebody that was a regular, I'd be a regular expert along with him, and they would have other experts that would change in and out. And then in that same month, asked by Anderson Cooper's executive producer, they wanted to create a show for Dani Johnson, just like that show. I think it was called 360 or something like that, off in New York. So between New York and LA. And I came to this place where I just said, thanks. I'm so honored. And, it's such a blessing that you would consider me and that you would pursue me in this. But the reality is that I live in Texas and I love being a mom and I love running the business that we have. And I love our clients and I love taking care of the poor. And these two opportunities just don't quite fit into that. And so why did I say no? Because I have found the secret to fulfillment. And the secret for me for fulfillment was being a wife and a mom and running and managing alongside with my husband a business that we could run and manage with keeping our family first. And so if we chose to chase these other things, like the opportunity to write more books and the opportunity to be on TV more, or the opportunity to have a show every single day, on national television, those things just didn't fit with what was fulfilling to us. So rather than chasing ego for us, because those were some like amazing ego opportunities, right? And yes, I could wrap my head around the fact like, we could make so much more money and we could impact so many more lives, but at what cost? At the cost of our family and being away from our family. And I was a homeschooling mom at the time, and that was much more important to me. Being a mom and cleaning my house and cooking dinner every night and running errands and doing this kind of stuff was much more important to me than having some big show. So you don't always have to go big or go home. You don't. But what you can do is learn to say no. You can learn to take opportunity and filter it through what's most important to you. And by the way, there are some things that are more important than money, and there are some things more important than recognition. There are some things more important than fame. There are some things more important than your business. And so I think it's important to maybe write those things down. What are they? How do you want to live? How do you want to live? What is fulfilling to you? Something that my husband talks about is so amazing and beautiful to me. He's got these 4 words that are attached to his business and his system called True Wealth Formula. And it's freedom, adventure, security, and fulfillment. Who doesn't want those 4 things, right? Freedom, adventure, security, and fulfillment. That's what our lives have been about. They really have. Those 4 things. Freedom. Freedom spiritually. to love our God, to walk with our God, to bring our God with us into the marketplace. He's there with us anyway. But instead of ignoring him and pretending like we can only talk to him on Sunday, we chose to acknowledge him every single day of the week. We chose to acknowledge him while we were in the home. We chose to acknowledge him in the car. We chose to acknowledge him in the shower. We chose to acknowledge him in business, as we still do to this day. That our business is not ours. It's actually his. He's entrusted us with it, to manage it, to direct it, to lead it in the best way that we can, with all of our faults, with all of our frailties, with all of our mishaps, with all of our delinquencies, with all of our insecurities, everything that we're not, and everything that we've developed ourselves to be, according to, again, what he teaches in his word, the Bible. Freedom spiritually, freedom emotionally. Yeah, which is an amazing work in progress. In fact, freedom spiritually is also a work in progress, but freedom emotionally. Yeah, not being led by our insecurities. Yeah, not overreacting when things don't quite go right, but learning how to follow his lead. Me learning how to follow my husband's lead. Us learning how to even pick up on what the marketplace is saying that they want and pick up on what their lead is. Picking up on the lead even of our team, the people that we work with each and every week. So emotionally, mentally, the mind that just loves to run ragged and wild, right? The mind that just loves to play all kinds of games with you, right? My mind loves to play games with me, man. It's been a battle my entire life, right? From being a homeless woman 28 years ago, growing up in a violently abusive, drug-infested home, like just the mess that I was and the mess that sometimes I still am. That's a reality check right there. But I've managed to get beyond surviving and thriving in our marriage, thriving as a mom, not perfect in those categories, but perfectly working towards always improving and getting better in those particular categories. So the mind, how it plays games on us when we're trying to start out and build a business, and when we're flat broke, and our mind that's saying it's never going to work, you're never going to be good enough, you're never going to be worthy enough, you're never going to be smart enough. These are the things that my mind used to tell me. So freedom, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physical freedom, financial freedom, right? Adventure. Gosh, not living the life in the grind. The grind sucks. Man, if you're letting the grind you every single day, gosh, do something adventurous. I know that you didn't start in the career that you're in to live in the grind. I know you didn't get married to be living in the grind. Get out of the grind. Do something different. Have some adventure. Take a risk. Have some fun. 3, that's security. Every human wants security, and there's a balance between security and adventure, and both of those things sometimes can be at war with each other. But Hans and I have figured out how to be able to do that. How have we set up a more secure future, the best possible secure future that we could set up for ourselves? Nothing is 100% secure. All of our security, honestly, is our trust in our Father. But as we have followed his laws and as we have followed his ways, he truly has shown himself to be trustworthy, and he has secured things in us. Not only security financially, but security inside of us. Those things I was talking about earlier, freedom emotionally, mentally, freedom from our insecurities, or at least a path and a plan of how to be able to work through those particular insecurities. And last, fulfillment, which is really what this video is about, right? It's about fulfillment. It's about not being led by ego, but instead knowing what fulfills you. And so in the case where I was talking about a family member earlier, that music has been something that's been fulfilling for this individual, and photography and anything of the arts, writing, and even drawing. I have several of these kind of people in my life, which is really precious, and I love watching them create. That when we lose sight of what is fulfilling, and then all of a sudden what is fulfilling now has this, I got to be the best and I got to go big or go home. The thing that is fulfilling is not fulfilling anymore. Now what is? Like now where our goal and our focus is completely different. I love and I respect all of the businesses around the world that are small mom and pop shops that are just doing what they love. I was recently off in the mountains here in Texas. There's a place called Big Bend, and it's absolutely stunning, gorgeous. It was a phenomenal experience. And we stop into this gas station, and there is this couple, and it's a mom and a dad and a daughter. And the daughter's, I don't know, maybe 40 years old, so you can up the ages of the parents there. But the way that they had their little store set up with all their scriptures all over the place, and it's a gas station, right? All their scriptures all over the place was immaculate. And they had this little section where they could make burgers and tacos and things like that, which we were so happy that they did, because like out in that direction, you can't find food anywhere. It's crazy. So anyway, just walking in, and they had, by the way, rather than a buzzer when you walk in the door, rather than a ding ding when you walk in the door, it was a doorbell. So you literally felt like you were their guests when you walked in there. And they smiled at you and said hello when they saw you. So I felt like I was walking into somebody's home. And of course, they prepared some tostadas for us. And that was a beautiful thing. But we felt cared for and we felt loved. There was not in these people that we have to have the biggest and the best gas station. Like, you could tell that wasn't the driving factor in them. But instead, here is a nice little business that they have, and they're doing it with all of their might. They're obviously doing it for God, as they've got God printed all over the place. They obviously had enjoyment in meeting strangers. They're inviting strangers into their place, which, by the way, is a biblical thing as well. And so you could see the fulfillment on them. So when I look at somebody like that, where you can just see the natural fulfillment, the natural joy coming out of them, versus somebody who is stressed out, overworked, just driving themselves mad because they're trying to go big or go home, because they're trying to beat the Amazon, or they're trying to beat Apple, or they're trying to beat, Lady Gaga, or they're trying to beat somebody, right? They're like competing against somebody else. This is not fulfilling, but instead they're in the grind, and something is driving them instead of them in the driver's seat, living the life and traveling this journey called life in the way that is fulfilling for them. So I want to encourage you that you don't always have to be the best, and you don't always have to go big or go home. That sometimes it's more fulfilling and better and a bigger win if you do what is more fulfilling to you and more enjoyable to you than it is to go after those other things. So I'm going to challenge you with that. I want you to chew on that message, and I also want you to share this message with somebody else. And I hope to see you at the next First Steps to Success 3-day training seminar that kind of teaches you how to keep everything in balance, how to really forge yourself ahead without driving yourself and everyone else crazy. This is what Hans and I have managed to do with our lives. We have managed to work part-time and build businesses that are far bigger than either one of us had the capabilities to do. And we've done that with God's help. We've done that with His direction. There's right there in His Word. We have done that in the marketplace, no matter what has happened inside the economy. When other people have gone out of business, He has completely sustained us, and He has blessed us in a way that is immeasurable. And so I want to encourage you, you can learn how to do the same thing. You can know those principles. You can understand those principles, put those principles into practice, and live a much more fulfilling life. That's the life I know and believe that you are called to. And sometimes you've got to ask yourself the question, what am I doing this? What is this really all for? Am I in the grind? Is something driving me? Or am I in the driver's seat, driving to a place that I don't want to go? Friend, I challenge you today. Okay, so please share this video. And if you haven't yet subscribed to our page, go ahead, subscribe to the page, and go visit DaniJohnson.com. There's many more videos there, and there's much more content there, including different types of books and things like that, depending on what it is that you're after. But the main thing I hope you click on is events. We like to gather several times a year, a whole community of people who are keeping their priorities straight, paying off their debt, increasing their income, loving their marriages more, being more very strategic as parents, reducing their stress, and also we are all gathered together taking care of those who can't care for themselves, freeing kids out of the sex trade, building houses for the extreme poor, and feeding the orphan and the widow every single day. So I hope that you would join us and this community who gather together at First Steps to Success. Go to Dani, Dani Johnson.com, click on events, and find out where the next First Steps to Success is, and get yourself registered immediately. That's if there's still seats available. We've been selling out this year. So the choice is yours, my friend, and I hope to see you soon. God bless you. Bye-bye.